All right. Good morning, Freedom Team. Excited for today. We're wrapping up the month, kicking off October. Man, we're in the last fourth quarter. And for those who haven't really done a lot of attraction, fourth quarter tends to be the biggest quarter for agents to make the move. So hopefully you guys have been planting seeds. And if you have not, you could start making calls today and you could reach someone that, right, is just not real content or happy where they're currently at. And somebody can make a move very, very quickly. My last two that came in all happened in less than 30 days. Got hold of them. They weren't real content. We're ready to make, it was just a timing thing, right? So just this is a great time to start reaching out here over the next 2 to 3 months. Couple other things, just some quick housekeeping. If you have not signed up, it is not too late for everybody to go to eXp in Miami, October 27th through the 30th. All of us on the leadership team are going. We're all going to be there. We even have an event set aside for, I think it's that, is it that Monday night, Kathy, that we're doing the steak restaurant? Um, yeah. So
It
Monday,
is
early game,
Monday night from uh
5:30 to
4:30, no, 5:30 to 7:30.
yeah, the Ole Steakhouse. So if you guys happen to be heading down there, definitely come meet us there. If you have not registered, it is not too late. Guys, here's all I can say about that. I've been to probably every event, maybe missed two in 7.5 years of these major events. If the only thing that happens, you go and you network with a lot of agents you meet from all of the United States, and it just leads to one referral, that probably pay for itself, right? If you go out in there and just bring back some nugget or two you implement and it leads to another transaction, it more than pays for itself. But guys, what it'll do is re-energize you. You'll meet some of the best of the best. You'll hear the people that are doing numbers that are mind-boggling, and they'll teach you exactly what they're doing. So if you have not registered, I highly recommend it. It is not too late, guys, to get down there and get plugged in. If anything, it'll help you close out a good year and kick into 2025. But anyway,
Well,
we
and let
guess,
me let me add to that real quick, Sean. So
please.
I don't know if you saw this, but Brian Carruthers is going to be there on the main stage, and then
I
he's
did.
also doing a breakout. And since today we're talking about building our rev share, Brian Carruthers wrote a book called "Building an Empire" or "Building Your Empire," which has been a well known, received book in the building. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Which has been a fantastic book for building our rev share group. And so he's going to be one of the keynote speakers. And then he again is doing a breakout for training purposes. So if nothing else, everyone that's on here today is on about building their rev share group,
Yeah.
going to EXPCon just to hear Brian and to get his wisdom. He's built massive organizations, um, would be worth the trip.
Yeah.
So,
And add one thing too that I think we talked about it before I left on the vacation. Jay Kinder, which I'm assuming everybody knows, he at one time was number two in the world for Coldwell Banker. But anyway, he I think I'd been on board maybe 12 to 18 months. Bill was out there with me, went to a major event, and Kinder had never recruited and done stuff. His mind flipped from that book she just talked about and everything he was, I guess, training on that day. A lot of us that came from a direct sales background were just like, wow, that is exactly dead on what it takes to build an organization. Even though we're not a direct sales company, a lot of the components and the teachings do correlate. So, anyway, at minimum, grab that book, whether you want to do it on audio, read it, whatever you'd like to do. But anyway, let's kick off here with our special guest. I think it's only been less than 60 days, if I'm not mistaken, or right around that time frame. But Scott has been working. This is Scott Pewitt. We're going to be interviewing this morning. Mr. Kelly Fastling brought him in a couple months ago, and the guy's off to a rocking start. And he's got a lot of seeds planted as well. But Scott has been working in the real estate business, acquisitions, mergers, and commercial sales leasing since 2011. He launched eXp Commercial in Reading because he found a cloud-based brokerage built from the mindset of commercial agents. In short, eXp created a software bundle that he tried for 3 years to put together. Now he can build teams worldwide with no overhead. Scott is passionate about strategically helping people build or rebuild their net worth through commercial real estate while helping brokers do the same. So, Scott, man, thank you, brother, for jumping on here. I can't say I've done an interview with somebody only being on board a couple months, but what you've done very quickly is pretty awesome. I know you got some seeds planted, but why don't we start off and just tell us a little bit about you? A lot of us may not know your background and what kind of led you into real estate. If you want to share a little bit about your personal and family and stuff, we'd love to learn about you.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, it's good to be on here. Of course, this has been also my support for the last couple months, which has been priceless. And then with the help of you and Kelly, it's just been kind of like jumping on a 60-mile-an-hour train. So I, yeah, that's right. And I happen to just have got off a train. I'm up in Seattle visiting family, so I'm makeshifting just to get to be on here. This is great. Uh, for me and Deanna, we blended two families together. I have four kids. She has three. They're all adults. I've been letting everyone know that I no longer have kids, teenagers, or animals, so I have one at life. So
New chapter.
we, that's right. That's right. So we have four grandkids, one on the way, and truly a blended family that is loving each other, which is a win for us. As far as real estate, I was in the technology side, fiber optic technician and computer network wiring, and went into real estate development in the great year of right before 2008-9. So we had the novel idea of starting in about 2006, and by 2009, what did we do? But the one thing that I did find is I love real estate. I tell Deanna on the bad days, I really love what I do. And that tells me something about real estate. So in 2011, I decided to get my real estate license and find a way to sell real estate, which, as most all of you know on here, in 2011, it was not easy. In our town of 100,000, if you sold something over 200,000, you did a party dance, you know. And so we've been building, but quickly I found that I love working with investors. It's a different conversation. We will help friends and family get homes all day long. That we do in our sleep. But I found that helping people build their net worth, or maybe even rebuilding their net worth through real estate, is something that I'm passionate about. And so the conversation quickly turned to even a homeowner, they can live in it 2 years, flip that house and increase their net worth. So it just depends on their goals. And that's how I really got into commercial real estate. Those investors quickly wanted to look at those properties. And within about 7 years, we were doing about 75% commercial sales, leasing, investment property, and that's what led me to starting to find how to build a team that can do the homes that they're passionate about, and I can do the investors. And so that's what brought us into eXp commercial.
Let's discuss how you and Kelly came across each other and how did this process start?
Yeah, well, I think like minds attract, and we both were pursuing a company of personal mastery. Just, I believe until you master yourself, even mastering your business is not easy. And so we ran into each other there, and over time, uh, I had let her know that our brokerage, I was teed up to buy out a brokerage here, an independent brokerage of 40 agents. My buddy started it in 2004 and just did a great job of attracting independent agents. He was set up to retire, and I was supposed to buy him out in January. And all of a sudden in December, he had epiphany to roll it into a network marketing company with real estate that he thought would give him a better opportunity to retire. Blindsided me, took me 6 months to get over it.
Mm.
But in that time, the easiest, simplest way was to roll into one of eXp's competitors. And so I was there for about 3 months, had never experienced real estate and network marketing together. And it was in a market, as you guys know, that just sales had already dropped. So we were working at getting those sales back up. And so in June of this year, Kelly asked me, "Have you looked at eXp?" Well, I have many friends in eXp. And I was one of the ones 7 years ago, 5 years ago that said it wouldn't work. But being in this company at least showed me what was possible. And so when Kelly sat me down, we started talking, my first rejection was, I'm already a commercial agent being pigeonholed in a residential world. And when she introduced me to eXp Commercial, they were using terms on that video that residential realtors don't know, and that would be like build out, CoStar, Moody Analytics. These terms that we have to use daily that residential agents don't, and that I have to have a budget of about 12 to 1400 a month for all that software. And so when she started playing this video, I realized, oh, they've built this for commercial agents. And so that's when I got on a three-way conference call with a commercial agent from eXp. It was a perfect way for Kelly to attract me because I just needed to know it was legitimate as a commercial brokerage.
So let me back you up. So the different programs you were mentioning, so it's if you're another agent, another company, it's about what a 14, 15,000 a year to have those services. Do they offer that for free over here? Is that just part of
So So for eXp, we'll just take one of them. What builds all of our brochures and all of our marketing is called Build Out. For me, that's $400 a month. eXp offers all of our Airforms, Moody Analytics, Build Out, all for $250 a month. So just that one part right there just slashes everything in less than half. And for them to even be utilizing these tools, these are the best in the industry. Airforms is, if you're a commercial agent, that's all the forms you use. And for eXp to have that relationship with Airforms is rare.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, so you came over here. What is it that, other than obviously services being less and having the ability to build something like you're talking about? So when you say build, what do you see? Let's go out 12, because I can tell right now you've got a vision. You wouldn't have come over if you didn't
Yeah.
see where this thing could take you. So what do you foresee over the next 12, 24, 36 months for you attracting agents? Are you focusing more on commercial, a little bit of both, or what does it look like?
Yeah, for me, I had a plan that was to buy out this brokerage and to build the commercial division. It's kind of interesting with the market the last 12 months. I felt I was bulletproof with commercial, residential, both. And when this last downturn hit and how it affected our sales, it was frustrating to me that being in commercial sales, leasing, and residential it wasn't as tight a net as I thought it was. And so it was this February, March, April that I really had to look at real estate sales and say, okay, what is missing? And about 8 years ago, I helped a guy start an insurance company for the purpose of residual income. Well, I found out within 2 years that the insurance industry is not an industry I enjoy at all.
Mm.
And as I was reflecting, I realized what we're missing in real estate is reoccurring revenue. And so as I was starting to talk to Kelly, what does it take to build 10,000 a month? Because, well, I know what it takes to get an investment property to produce 10,000 a month, and you better have $1 million sitting there ready to go. And so as she began to show me the residual income, I had had an experience in the 90s in long distance network marketing that we grew and became top 50 money earners just through selling a service. And when I realized that real estate is a service, I don't have to convince you to try my real estate. You're going to do that every day already. But if you're doing it within my system, I get a residual income monthly, annually, and that was my missing leg of the stool. So we chose to add that in July, and I actually took it from you, Sean. If I take you and Jeff, if I take 1 hour a day and build out that leg, that's going to get me that missing piece that I needed from this last downturn.
All right, wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about what's happened to you since you've come on board. I won't even go through the numbers. I'll let you start kind of sharing with everybody what's taken place. Has it been less than 2 months? Or are you right at the 60-day mark about?
Right at 2 months. Yeah,
Right at
right
two
at two
months.
months.
Okay.
For the last 12 years, I've been coached by Brian Buffini, which has been a great sales coaching, building by referral. And there was one matrix that I learned there that I've brought into this, and that is if I call 100 people, I'll close a deal every time. This is NAR national average. They did this 8 years ago. If I call 100 people, I'll close a deal every time. If I call 50 friends and family, I will close a deal statistically every time. But if I get 3 referrals, I'll close 2 every time. So the question is, what type of effort does it take to grow 3 referrals in order to close 2 compared to cold calling 50? It doesn't make cold calling wrong. We actually need that at times to grow our influence. But so I started 2 months ago with 2 things. Obviously, I have a network of realtors. We've been selling millions of dollars for 10, 12 years. So I've been asking one question, and that is, would you like to see how I found to build another leg of my income stool through residual income? These are people I already know. They trust me. I don't have to like build rapport with them. And some of them, they have, like me, have already seen eXp or Real or all these different companies, but they're shocked that I moved over. So we have that relationship. So it's, do you want to see what I discovered? The other is, who do you know that is been really affected by this last 12 months? Because I was affected, and if I can get affected, you probably know somebody. And I've had realtors tell me they're not interested and refer me another realtor to talk with. And so that's the 2 sources right now I'm choosing. Um, I'm learning from Sean on the cold calling because I'm getting spammed by these commercial agents. Hey, sell my property, sell my property. And I literally reached out Friday just for this call, emailed a guy because he's emailing me, and he called me right away and he said, I'm not planning on moving, but your email was kind and fascinating. And I thought, man, what Sean does works.
So when you call and they say, oh, I know you got the relationship, and they're like, Scott, man, I've been called by multiple people from eXp. Where do you go from there?
Well, your friends and family can be the most difficult, as you know, they know you well. So to just be honest with where you're at, how things have affected you, and the solution you found, there's 2 things that I'm doing. One is that the Freedom team has helped me with that freedom chart. This for me, even though I've been in network marketing in the past, I mean, it was 20 years ago, but to understand the numbers, my brain wants to understand them before I communicate, and that's not good for growing an organization. So, that freedom chart was shared with me, and I can just do one click and it shows what the numbers are. So I'll sit down with a relationship, any realtor, and just say, is it possible in the next year with my energy to help you find 3 people that need this brokerage? And do you feel like in the next year after that, with my energy, we can find 3 others? I've just simply used that because just in that model this last year, I created 24,000 a year in 60 days. And that's without 2 brokerages that are getting their names switched. So as soon as they come over, that adds 6 more realtors. So just showing that chart with a few clicks, so I don't have to explain mathematics, but they can see that I'm growing a residual income.
If you wouldn't mind, Scott, just for some that may not have seen it, or just to review, because I agree, there's something compelling when you fill that in and the number pops up. You're like,
Yeah.
that's every year. If you wouldn't mind, I just threw it over to you, co-host. Do you by chance have that available
Yeah,
to
I
pull
do.
up to kind of show us what you're doing and how you walk them through that dialogue?
Yeah, that's really good. This, you've heard a picture is worth 1,000 words. That's exactly what this is. Uh, let's see, I was just doing a demo for someone. There we go. So what I do is I just show them that I came in 60 days ago. Within about 30 days, Jesse Eline here is a top residential realtor in our town. He does about a 50 to 100 transactions a year. And I just, because we're friends and we go through some of the same frustrations, I just explained to him what we're missing is the residual income annually for all the effort we already do. And that's what brought Jesse over. So he's now a residential agent within eXp. Uh, I put two names in here because anytime they're a buyer's agent sharing a cap, then they're represented as one. So just when I'm having a conversation, I can uncheck these and this just shows me, you can see the totals changing right now. But when I'm in a conversation with him, I just show him that that when I bring him into eXp, I'm going to make $6,000 a year just right there. You can see that. Now, obviously, there's some special that you get $4,000 for sponsoring somebody. Uh, Let me uncheck there. There we go. So it's 2,800, which for the first year it's 4,000. When I bring in his buyer's agents, all of a sudden we're at 6,000. He and I have a friend, Todd, that is the longest standing agent in our brokerage. And when he said yes to be around us and what we're growing in residual income, we added him about 3 weeks ago. And just showing him that already I've created almost $10,000 a month just in that action. So I don't have to explain levels and dollars and the things that I could probably analytically figure out. But for me to explain it to someone that's not analytical, that's the problem. You want it simple.
Yeah.
So I can be having a lunch or,
A
yeah,
quick correction, just 10,000 a year, just for those who may
yeah,
not be,
10,000 a year. Yeah.
but still, that's amazing that that happens that quickly.
Yeah. So then I got a phone call from a guy coming from Oregon to Reading. He needed a broker to sponsor his license. All he does is business acquisitions. But he needs to be in California state and he needed to move quickly. But once I explained eXp, he realized that he's missing out on the residual income also. And so he came in last week. And then as I'm talking with brokers, so you can see Magnolia here and Brian, these are two brokers that have a very reputable brokerage name. And they're just frustrated with building a team, then losing a team, building a team, losing a team. So they're right now with our state getting their name switched over. And they each have at least 1 to 2 agents. So right there, we're at 24,000 a year. And so that's been the last 60 days of just taking this chart, sitting down and saying, what is missing in the last 12 months that caused your sales to go down and what could be different? And I'll show one other thing that I use. Let me see if let me just stop sharing the resharing. That's easier for me. But the only other thing I use visually, because I'm a visual person, is just with each agent. I'm just like, this is real simple. We're on a one-legged milk stool, and every time we stand up, the stool falls over. And we have our commission sales, and then we have our interest income in the back leg, which that would be like if I buy real estate and I'm leasing it out, I'm making interest on my income, bottom line.
Yeah.
But what's missing is these front two legs, which is agent revenue, annual revenue, and that also leads you to stock options. Now, one of the arguments, I just did a pitch to the number one broker in Northern California. He does 500 transactions a year. And he says, Scott, the problem with agent revenue is that in 5 years they could change it and you could lose some of your income. I said, well, that's possible, but I personally talked to Glenn Sanford about this, and that front leg is stock options. So we are building stock in the company while we're building revenue share with agents. And this is a fourth leg that I feel like is vital in owning a piece of this company while you're building agents. So that whatever revenues are in the future, I don't have a crystal ball, but between these four legs, I've got a stable stool.
But what did this big broker say? Where's he at, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, he literally was, and I knew this was not the first time he's heard of eXp, But what I knew he hadn't thought of is he's retiring in 3 years, and this is the second time he's retired. And every time he stops, his income stops. And so
Mm,
I switched it up on him. I just said, what does it take for you to create $10,000 a month when you walk away from this? And he said, well, about $1 million, give or take. I mean, we could argue that. But I said, wonder if in 3 years you walk away and for the next 10 years, I build out your organization because I'm focused on revenue share. And if you walked away and did nothing, I want that organization to grow. And that's when he had the thought around what happens if they change the revenue share. And when we talked stock options, he said, this is absolutely brilliant. He
mm.
said, one, if I make a switch, it'll be the one he said, you have the concept of the reason why we do this. He said, but I hadn't thought about switching. So our first meeting was Thursday. And but I feel like this agent revenue and the stock options literally create stability for any change in the future.
Do you mind me asking, when you spoke of Real and some of our competitors, have these names come up at all when you're talking to these big brokers and agents?
Yeah, he knew I had been in Real because of the brokerage I was with retired us all into Real. And he asked me why I moved. There's two reasons I moved. Number one, we had these two agents come in and sponsor 40 agents into Real in one swoop. And then for 6 months, we didn't hear one thing from them. So we're in the struggle of an industry that the sales are down, but that's when we should have been migrating brokers and agents because they're having a negative experience in the market. We didn't hear anything from them. So when I came in eXp, the main reason I said yes is Kelly sold me on the Freedom Team. Structure around agents is that agents don't do well by themselves, and to have a level of structure where they can think outside of their normal day is priceless. And that's why I'm on there almost every morning for us, 8 o'clock. When I explain this to this broker, he knows that's the reason he's so successful is he's created a culture around it. So we had more conversation around the Freedom Team than we did eXp because that's to me what sells us more than anything is the support.
Couldn't agree more. I
Yeah.
do the same thing you guys know a lot of you do. Since I'm not out selling houses, everything I lean on is about the Freedom Team. And I try to invite them to be guests and stuff. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are doing that, but boy, do not take that for granted. Because I agree, after listening to Jeff and Kathy and those that have been doing this for 20 something years, the camaraderie and the culture we've created in these consistent trainings across the board Monday through Thursday are priceless.
That's
So
right.
definitely get yourself plugged in. So
Well,
look at this as he plugs in the numbers.
last that I'll share with you, the end of my presentation to them is my goal is in the next 5 years to help 5 people get five. And I learned that from Jeff and all of them. And so that's almost $100,000 a year right there. Uh, and so that is my focus. The other thing I do is I just show them that I actually have goals. And the first goal is to help people get 3 people and then help them get three. And that immediately creates that 28,000 a year right there of reoccurring income. And then my goal is to just, obviously every agent's not going to do that. But if I create a culture and a system of how it works, the reason we were successful in the past in network marketing is I didn't convince them they needed to do what I do. I needed to play off of that they know I can do it because I'm sitting in front of them.
Mm.
So how I got Jesse is I said, if you could put me in front of an agent, do you think with everything I've showed you, they would come over? And he said, absolutely. I said, put me in front of 3 people, and that's all you need to do. I got the rest. But what we found in our past is they get so excited about it and they trust those relationships. They want to be in the meeting. They don't know it in that moment, but when they set the appointments, they want to be there. If I can create a simple system to show them that they can duplicate at some point, they're going to say, I got this.
Yep.
And that's how we became top 50 money earners back in the 90s is because we would only do something simple. Well, what fascinated me about this was Kelly. When I said yes, I would look at this, she three-wayed me in with Stephanie, and that's a commercial agent in Kentucky. I can do what she did. I just three-way in somebody. And so being able to reach out to Sean, Jeff, Kelly, if I come across as an expert, they think they have to be an expert. And that's the power of third-party validation.
Love it. Well, that takes us back, doesn't it, Billy? The three-way calling. We'd call it tap rooting. And I love doing that, bringing somebody in. Who are your five best friends, family? Who would you love to be in business with? Who would you love to travel with? And when you used to sell a travel product, it could be either or. So same thing here. They
Yeah.
see that. And if they realize what Scott just said, what I just did with you, if we're in front of your top two, three, four friends, and I did the same presentation that I'm doing for you for them, what do you think they would do? I think most of them are going to be, you know what, they'd probably be very interested like I am. So definitely take all of us up on that, guys. It's not just the leaders. Anybody can be a third party reference, right? There's the way you edify them. They're the expert. Always edify them more than you do the prospect, but that could be a whole nother call about three-way calling. But anyway, questions for Scott, right? He's obviously got a plan. He's off to a great start. I'm sure every one of us, or some of us that have been on board for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we haven't done what Scott's done in 60 days. So it's sometimes just getting out of the gate and getting the ball rolling can give you that momentum and that excitement that all of a sudden this thing starts, but you got to be the one to push over those first few dominoes. So what questions does anybody have for Scott? Let's dig a little deeper on this. Bueller? Anyone? Well, Scott, I'll ask you then. Like right now, you said like we've kind of been teaching, and really that kind of came from Eric Golden, a lot of us going, look, you can set aside to begin with 15 minutes a day, then
Yeah.
30, but you eventually want to get it to an hour. If you're working an 8 to 10 hour day and you're going to set aside an hour for outbound, reaching out to agents, past, transactions, whatever it might be, if you just do that consistently, obviously this is going to work. So what's preventing some of us right now from doing these outbound calls, emails, text, and feel free to jump in anytime. But Scott, is all of yours right now, do you start with an outbound call to your contacts? Do you warm them up with a text or email? How are you starting that?
That's a great question. One is to know your audience. So to me, there's three types of people right now, three types of realtors out there. One is the person that has already looked at eXp. Uh, you have people that I even have friends that went into eXp 5, 7 years ago and stepped out. So that's your first audience. Your second one is one that's just never seen it. Either they've rejected it or never been around it. And the third is what I call the waves of realtors. You're about to see a wave of realtors in commercial like you did in residential. But let's go back to the first one, the ones that have seen it. I just had a friend of mine say 4 years ago I got into EXP and then a year later I jumped out. The reason is because they've been sponsored without support. And so these are just as important. So how I start is I'll text message and I change it up, and I've used some of your templates that you've showed me, Sean, but I also know how to talk to my audience. We're realtors. And so I'll text something like, I just made the change over to eXp because I've discovered something new. When are you free? I got to show you this. And I'm just being frank. I don't have to sell them. They know me.
Yeah.
If it's someone I don't know, I tried this last week. Sean, you remember when you did the calls in front of us a couple weeks ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is my biggest fear. And so I decided to try something for this call. I took that email that guy had been spamming me since from Chicago. And so I sent him an email and it just said, man, I really appreciate your emails. That's probably where I stretched the truth. I really appreciate your emails and I'm surprised about your professionalism. I got that from you, Sean. I said, I now have a company, eXp Commercial, where and I just wrote a couple items that tied to what he does. And I literally in 2 hours I got a call back. And he said, I've been with this company 90 years, but I really appreciated the kindness of your email. What are you doing? And I said, well, we have two problems in our industry. One is in commercial, 90% or more of the commercial agents are at a 50-50 cap. And he said, you're exactly right. He said, however, I've negotiated a little better, but not much. I said, the second problem is these large brokerages are pulling the profits over. And I said, now with cloud-based brokerage, at some point, all agents are going to be in cloud-based brokerages. And I finally found a way to make an income off of it. And he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And we had an hour conversation around revenue share. And I'm sitting there the whole time thinking I would have never made this call if I hadn't heard you do those cold calls. But it
Good.
showed me that I can reach out to a cold lead just as fast as I can reach out to my warm market. So
That's awesome. That is awesome. Guys, questions? Kathy, Jeff,
Yeah.
anybody?
Scott, if you could repeat what you just said, I just made the change to eXp. What was your line after that?
yeah, I just made a change to eXp. Well, this is one I've been using the most. I just moved to eXp because I discovered I've got to build reoccurring revenue from the very effort I do in real estate.
It's good.
Yeah, if I'm on the phone with them, I'll tell them I had launched an insurance company because I saw the gap, or you could say I have an insurance agent and he's making reoccurring revenue and I'm realizing I have a gap in my business plan. I didn't have a reoccurring revenue. You don't have to have done a certain way. Just refer to it because people know what residual income is.
If you look knowing what you know now, been doing this for 60 days, would anything change in the way you got started?
Yeah, I would be tougher with my agents. I have a few of them on here, and then I have a few that keep saying they're going to be on here. I'm realizing that me making it easy is not helping. And I've got to be really clear. For you to be successful to build residual income, you need to be on this call at least every Monday and Wednesday and Thursday. If you're not on those days, then you're not going to just build when you have time. The most common, as soon as I get caught up, I will. That's the most common thing I hear. And
Yeah.
so I'm realizing that now these 4 agents that are coming on, I haven't given it an option. If you want my time, I need you on this call at least twice a week, preferably 4 times a week, but at least twice. Otherwise, it's not worth my time. I'm realizing that just in the 2 months, that's a mistake of making it an option. So.
I love that. So the agents that you're saying, I'll help you if and only if you show up on Monday and Thursday.
Or
Wednesday,
I tell them what the format is, and I let them know if you don't get plugged in, I'm out chasing agents that aren't plugged in. So I'm making that pivot right now. 2 days a week, then you've got all my time. I'll meet any appointment you need. But
that's
that's got to be, otherwise it's me chasing chickens, it feels like. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I highly recommend that. This Monday's great for the interviews, but you guys heard me brag on Eric a lot. Eric Goldham comes to that Thursday
Yeah.
with something to teach and train, motivate, inspire, whatever you call it. But he has a way of just moving you to the next level, whatever it is. He has a way of doing it in a way that is, though I've said a bunch of faces on here keep showing up on Thursday. I love what you're saying there for all of us, regardless of whether you're telling another agent that. If you're wanting to do attraction, show up bare minimum every Thursday. Come on Monday if you'd like to just hear different ideas and different things that some people are doing. You don't want to muddy up the water. I'm kind of going down the method that Eric's been using right now, but I get nuggets like we're getting right now from Scott. So I appreciate you sharing all this. Jeff, I see you just jumped on here, but anybody got just any other pressing question, deep question for Scott? Yeah, Kelly.
Yeah. So Scott, as you bring your agents in and you now set the bar of you want my time, you're going to engage. How do you help them to get out of their own way to start getting you in front of some of their people? How are you creating success there?
Yeah, this is an area where I've learned that not every agent is going to build rev share, and I'm aware of that. However, energy begets energy. So every win I have in rev share, I'm texting all my agents that I sponsored and their agents. They think I'm texting them individually, but which I am. It's the same story to all of them. You're not going to believe what just happened. Just infusing energy. Like I just met with the #1 broker. Every agent I've sponsored knows this agent. He coaches nationwide. He does 500 to 700 sales a year. And he was willing to sit down with me because I brought up the reoccurring revenue. And so that goes right into my agents. So at some point they're going to want agent attraction because they keep hearing the story. So that is the secret to it. They're not going to start attracting agents necessarily from day one, but if they keep hearing the story that you're doing, they're going to run into relationships and tie you in because they see that you're already got momentum. What you're really wanting is they're out there doing a sale, they're talking to an agent. The agent's going to ask them, why did you move to eXp? Well, I moved because of Scott. You got to talk to Scott. He's building reoccurring revenue. They're not even going to refer to themselves. And all I need is for them to put me and that agent together. Yeah.
And for those of you, if you haven't brought somebody in, don't have that to share with some of the prospects, guys, you can talk about the Freedom Team. We bring anywhere from 30 to 60 agents every single month. You don't have to necessarily say we got 2,000 agents, but I'm part of a group inside of eXp. Every month we bring in 30 to 60 agents. You have got to experience what this group is doing. It's unreal, the passive income being created by a lot of these agents. So you can still share a third-party story, just make it about Freedom Team.
I talk literally, I mean this honestly, I talk more about the Freedom Team than I do eXp because it's the support that agent's wanting. They've already heard of eXp most likely. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I can't remember, Jeff, somebody correct me. I think our group did just in the first 6 months, was it 4.3 billion in revenue? There's just some staggering numbers. If you're talking to an independent broker or even just a big time veteran agent or a team leader, to throw out some of the numbers that our group is doing is jaw dropping. That definitely usually grabs their attention to want to at least chat more to understand how in the world can you do 4.3 billion in volume? I got a brokerage of 100 agents. We don't touch anything like that. So it usually can stir something up and keep the conversation going.
Yeah, it was, and just so you know, Sean, it was 2.2 billion for the first 6 months. We did about 4.3, I think, for the year last year.
Okay.
But we done, it was as of the second quarter, we did 6,600 transactions as a group.
And 2.
And you start throwing out some of those numbers, yeah, and it's like, I mean, I've got it in a webinar that I'm doing right now. That's just people are just like, what the heck, it's big.
Yeah.
So
and the same thing when when I'm talking to an independent broker and they realize you brought in what 40 agents joined you last month. I've been trying to build my brokerage for 10 years. I can't get over 15 agents. They're again mind boggled usually by some of this. So get some of that verbiage and some of that information just geared up and ready if you need to share it.
Yeah. I'm part of a group that whatever, and you talk about that support because you're right, Scott. That's what people are missing so much out there. They just don't have any help. I have an agent. It's funny. She jumped on a webinar that I did last Wednesday, and she had her license moved over here by Friday, like 2 days. I mean, and when we met online, and she just looked at it, it was exactly what you're talking about: Freedom Team, Freedom Team, Freedom Team. She's like, holy, I've been in business for 4 years. Like I feel like I'm on an island. Yeah. And she's at a traditional brick and mortar brokerage in Georgia, and so I mean she just got it. I've got an onboarding call with her today at 1:30. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's cool. There's people out there looking. People are hungry for just and I think right now, guys, one thing I would just share, I think right now that it's the season for people to move, but also I think I just feel, for me, I feel obligated to reach out to agents right now. There's so many agents leaving the business. And 2 years ago when they got their license, that wasn't the plan. They came in with this dream. They came in with these hopes, like I can run my life, I can get my business going, all this kind of stuff. And this economy and everything else has just crashed them. And now they're getting second jobs and third jobs and having to walk away. And, there are some that rightfully so just never should have done it to begin with. They did it for the wrong reasons, and there's going to be those people. But there's a lot of people out there that really genuinely wanted to make this work in the right way, and they just feel hopeless at this point. And I know that we've got an answer for them. Freedom Team and eXp has an answer for them. So it's like, shame on me if I don't reach out to as many as I can. That's what I feel like. I really feel that every day. to do that. And Scott, what you've been doing, I mean, it's so great to have you here. What would you say, I'm going to ask you a question. What would you say to like people who are on here right now or watch this video later, who just, again, they've maybe they're newer agents, or they're new to eXp, or they're new, or they've been here for a couple of years and just haven't made those calls yet because there's that fear. I mean, it's just, like what kind of direction and advice would you? Because it'd be easy to say, well, yeah, but he's been, look at him, he's done all this stuff, and he's this big agent and all this kind of stuff. I'm just not that person. Like, how could you help somebody get over that hump of just making those first calls?
So as I mentioned, in January, I got rolled into Real, and in 6 months, I didn't sponsor one person. That wasn't Real's fault. That was the support system, the understanding. You can be an amazing person and not sponsor anybody, but we all have one thing in common, and that's discipline. You'll hear people say, call 15 minutes a day. I haven't found time to really support me. I literally keep a spreadsheet on my wall, and my goal, when I finally figured this out with you and Sean, my goal was, okay, I'm going to call 2 agents a day. And in my personality, I put 5, and I consistently didn't hit it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to call 2 agents a day. That's it. And once I hit what I call a green streak, then I bumped it to 3. Now I'm up to 4. And until I can hit 4 agents a day for 5 days, I will not try, because I tend to set big goals and not hit them. So how do I hit something that is attainable but stretching? And so right now I've been at 3. And so I do 3 a day, and I'll give myself permission to do a text, email, call. But if I'm not getting results, then I get to pivot that. But setting one goal, I'm going to call 1 agent a day. And if you can hit a green streak in a week, you can do 2. And it doesn't matter how amazing anybody is until you reach out and find someone. It's like fishing. You can be the best angler in the world, but until you find where the fish are biting, it's not going to work, so you got to get lines in the water. And so that's what those calls are. It's just you're shocked, for me to know the #1 producers willing to consider moving in our area. No one would have thought that. And it was last week on this call, on one of the calls last week, that I heard they said, it was on a training call I was doing. A top producer said, how many calls do you get in the last 10 years? He said, I've never been recruited. I've never been called. So we assume that those people are being recruited and they're not being asked. So that's why I reached out to this guy the same day as that training. And he said, absolutely, I'll meet with you. And it's surprising to me that people don't know what I know. And that's where we got to get out of our head.
That big brokerage you're talking about that does the 500, how many agents does that broker have?
He has 10 to 12 buyer's agents underneath him, and they do 500 to 700 deals a year, and have been doing that consistently for 10 years. And he retired and then came back for family reasons, and within 9 months was #1 realtor again. So yeah. Yeah, but these agents don't have a life. They're just dialing. And when he retires, all of them don't have a system. So even a buyer's agent is a great person to say, how would you like to start building your own book of business and residual income?
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Any questions? I'm not
I
seeing.
think just one of the last things you said there, Sean or Scott, was, again, just like get out of your head. You know what I mean? And I think that's where so many people, we get stuck. I get stuck there. We get stuck is it's the thinking in our head. And so I don't know. I think sometimes, just getting up in the morning, and getting yourself going, reading the right stuff, and doing the right things, having the right routine in the morning, I think is so key to get yourself set up to have the kind of day that you really want to have,
in your warm market, people real well. Like, I know Kathy's personality, I know Jeff's personality now, Sean's personality, and you're talking to someone, you're like, oh, they would identify with Kelly. And that's a great way in your warm market to bridge the fear of, what do I tell this person? That 3-way validation in a personality trait You know, I'm around the Enneagram and some of that stuff, and knowing people's personalities a little bit. You pair just a grounded person with a grounded person, and you've already got a big win there. So third party validation is a real important part. You don't have to have all the script figured out.
And if I can add to that, for those wanting to get some of those people lined up for those third-party validations, within our group right here, that's a couple thousand of us, right? But we got, 100 plus that do a lot of these Zooms. Figure out where they came from, what brokerage they come from, how long have they been an agent,
Yeah.
what's their production level. Just get some basics and then ask them, would they be, available? You're not going to call that often from time to time, but you have someone you're talking to, a KW agent. How great would it be to have someone that just came from KW, or someone that was doing, maybe they're an Icon agent. They were doing 10 million. They came over here that from a similar volume level. Just get some of that lined up. Get yourself 5, 6, 7 different people that you have that you can call that have a similar background to your prospect.
When Kelly put me on with Stephanie, when I finally realized in the moment that I was going to consider this, I said, Stephanie, what do you get out of this? And she said, I don't get anything out of it. I said, then why are you on this call? And she said, because I believe in this company. That's more powerful than you're in my downline. So I mean, just leverage each other to benefit each other. The last thing I'll mention for especially this team, if you know any commercial agent, if you can just get them on a three-way call with me, for them to know the package eXp has, and for me to explain those tools, it's like we both suddenly speak Chinese together.
Yeah.
Any commercial agent, all you have to do is get them a three-way with me, and I'm happy to communicate that for you. And you get to watch how simple it is just by mentioning those tools.
And you could edify Scott right out of the gate if you're talking to a commercial agent. Say, Tom, man, the reason I wanted to call you, we just had a commercial agent join us just 60 days ago. And in just the last 60 days, he's already created $24,000 a year worth of passive income. Man, if you've got 5 minutes, you got to hear Scott's story. Something again that may just kind of grab them that be like, what? How could you have created that? They'd be open for a 5-minute call with another commercial agent. Thank you for even saying that, Scott, and opening yourself up. So other questions here. We got another 5 minutes or so. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I just wanted to mention so Kelly knows that it took me a bit before um, I even said, okay, I'm ready to kind of start making calls. Scott, I think last week I mentioned I called somebody that had been at Coldwell Banker for a good period of time, never thought he would even entertain a conversation. And so, again, first part of December, he's going to entertain that thought. And I called another agent last week, 38 transactions this year. She moved over to another agency 3 years ago, and she sat and told me how much that she was invested and she's going to build this. And we've got to talking. And again, Scott, it's a huge thing when I said, well, for all that effort, I said, when you get done, I mean, are you going to have a lot of residual income? And we got to talking a little bit, and she came around and she said, yeah, actually, I would like to listen. And so she was getting ready to go on vacation. We're going to get with her when she gets back. So there were two people that especially this last one, I never expected them to even entertain the conversation. And it was good, surprisingly good. It makes the phone a little bit lighter. Have I had some no's? Yeah, I have. To the point of, well, so why are we still on the phone kind of thing? That awkward moment. But so yeah, you're right. Actually, I have a couple agents in front of me that are doing phenomenal numbers and have been somewhere forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't know what's going through their head.
These are the ones that are going to be, when they come over, they're going to be loyal for a long time. Those are the ones you want to target. With a seasoned agent, here's how I start it. I ask him two questions. What's working for you? and they're going to tell you. And then I ask, what's not working for you? And they're going to tell you. Now, in my mind, the next question is what's next, and that's for me. But I'm looking, I want to know what's working for them, what's not working. And then, and I learned this actually from this team, is then just only talking about the part that's important to them. If they tell you what's not working, that's the only thing to talk about. And that could be rev share, that could be stock, that could be, any of those. But just knowing what's not working for them, and you may even make a suggestion in it so it opens their mind, but most of the time they tell me what's not working for them.
Okay.
Love it.
Good. It's really good.
That is good. Good, good,
Good
good.
job, Mike.
So Kate's got a question here. You
Thank
got a
you.
couple more minutes. I have a commercial agent I could use help with. Oh, what's a good contact info for you?
Yeah, and I'll put my number. I'm also in eXp's workplace, but you can definitely just copy this here coming up. So
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Kelly.
Scott, as you work with your new agents that come on and you assess who's kind of leaning in and coming to the classes and they get your time, when they get your time, how do you coach them? How do you kind of assess their interest level in doing rev share or not?
So this is where the whole personal mastery has really helped me. They don't know what they don't know. And so one, I got to find where they feel like they need the help. And then kind of as their coach, we'll call it, coaching them into real estate. Um, how can I help them see the whole picture? And oftentimes that's what I mentioned on this call of when you're doing a deal with an agent and they ask you that question, why did you join eXp? If all you say is you've got to talk to Scott, what he's doing is incredible. That third party reference alone is all you need to know. Anything that you tell them more than that, just don't get in the weeds. But um, I have truly found that every time I give them a story of my last connection with a realtor is creating a pain in them that they want the same thing. Because in that, I finish it always with, I am so excited about the residual income being built. So that's going to continue to be infused until they just can't stand it and they want to do it themselves. Because I'm doing it for their sake. I've been doing this 12 years, and if I quit selling tomorrow, I have nothing other than what I invested in.
Mhm.
And so this is the time going by is only going to hurt us because residual income starting now ripples into the future mathematically.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, Scott, man, we all have truly enjoyed this, man. There's been a lot of nuggets. I hope a lot of you are inspired. Scott's got his info there. If you know any commercial agents, heck, it may give you the courage to reach out to some commercial agents. Because the staggering number you threw to me that kind of really grabs me, I've heard it, but I hadn't heard that number. 90% of all commercial agents, or approximately, are on a 50-50 split. Quick
90 or more. I think it's closer to 95%. This is across the board. That's even what I had here. Rarely do they have better than that.
That's mind-boggling.
Last my best year about 3 years ago, I would have saved $120,000 just because that went straight to my broker for commercial sales. Yeah.
And do these brokers not have the ability to shrink that down to more of a 60-40 or 70-30? Are the margins just not there?
The system's been built totally different than residential, that their brokerage and support is almost it's very hard to do it without them, and it's been set up that way. And the cloud-based brokerage is changing that. That's why I talked when I got the chance to talk to Glenn Stanford. He built the commercial division for that industry and what it needed. So this is staggering numbers for commercial agents to get all that money back.
And
Wow.
that's even like Keller Williams and some of the bigger box names, that same 50-50.
All commercial agents across the board. You have certain. I'm not talking about a commercial in a residential world. I'm talking about full-fledged commercial agents in commercial brokerages. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, so even at KW, they're on a 50-50 split.
Yeah. So KW, I have in the 12 years, I've only done 2 deals with KW. I don't consider them a commercial brokerage. They are a brokerage that allows commercial sales, and there are great commercial companies out there in KW. I just don't deal with them very often, so I can't speak to theirs. But you take CBRE, Cushman Wakefield, you take all these big names, Marcus Millichap, 100%, they are, or 95%, they're at 50-50. Yeah.
If I could ask one last thing or even mention one last thing, at least I've heard this from a lot of the commercial agents that have come over, the referrals they're receiving from here, some of them it's tenfold for what they had in the last 5 or 10 years at their other brokerage. Have you been hearing some of that of the commercial agents you've talked to at eXp, the amount of referrals they're receiving from other?
So this is, for me as a commercial agent, I'm the first commercial agent in eXp in Reading, and there's plenty of residential agents, and immediately my leads went up I mean, conservatively 7 times, because they want to refer to a same name. Now, these agents have known me for years, but for me to be in eXp suddenly gave them permission to send them to me. So that has been brilliant, just on the sales side. Yeah.
Yeah, Ali, that's only going to expand your approach to these other agents over the next 6 months to a year. If you just close a handful of those and you say, here's my passive and here's what happened just from referrals, here's how much more money I've accumulated in 1 year.
I have 5 escrows right now, and 2 of them are from eXp agents that have never referred me and since I switched over. So that has been brilliant.
That is awesome, man. Congrats. It's going to be fun to watch this journey for you, Scott. So I'm excited for you. Thank you guys for all coming on here. Scott, if you'd like, obviously you can grab the recording. If you need the initial recording, I can send it to you if you want to cut that into shorts, whatever you want to do with it. But you guys, thank you for showing up. Again, hopefully we'll all be watching your journey. I know you're jumping on a bunch of these Zooms every week. And tomorrow, last little plug, we have our last AI training with Nick Krim tomorrow. So I'm sure he's going to try to pull all this together and summarize it for us all. So even if you have not been on the previous ones, jump on, because he has a way of kind of reviewing it all and pulling together, and you can always go back and watch the previous recordings. Other than that, you guys, thank you so much. Everybody have a blessed day, and hopefully I'll see everybody tomorrow morning. Thank you, Scott.
Scott, you rock, buddy. Appreciate you.
Good to be with you guys.
Thanks, Scott.
You.
Thanks, Scott.
Bye, guys.